So Owen, you learned about the between keyword. What does this do? Yeah. So let's do like get values between 2 points, maybe? Between two numbers. Maybe like sort of like within a certain range. Cool. Somebody here from the front. Do this.
ASC.
ASC. What does that mean?
Well, when paired with group by, it allows you to filter your return in ascending order.
So maybe order the results in ascending order. Cool. Brianna, I think you wanted to share one. Order by? Cool. What does that one do? Okay. Specify. So these two basically go together, right? Can you have one without the other?
I mean, you can order by.
Cool. Result set. Yeah, I'm gonna. Cool. Any others? What about the in? Who saw the in keyword? Vanille, did you get to see the in keyword?
Yes. So it's looks through the inside the column and for the parameters you put in.
So
Like if you want to look for an example that for inside the mobile
table.
database, look for the specific names, like the specific president that you want it to find. And those for specific IDs in the.
Okay. So, and what is so? It looks for values in. Could say like in a set of other values in the sense of. We're gonna see an example. But you could say like number one is number one in a set that I specify in parentheses, let's say 50, 30, 1, 2, and 4. What will be the answer to that question? Is one in that set? Like let's draw it out here. Basically, it's like this is the value that I'm looking for. You know, this could be, in this case, the number one, or the continent of Africa, or any value from the SQL table. And you were saying sort of like where one in, let's say, a set of numbers where we have 30, we have 50, we have 4, 5, 1, 70, 1,000. Right? Is this sort of statement true? Is one in this set of numbers? That's true, right? It's like in that example. Once we get there, we'll see it. Right? And what if we change it to 100? Is 100 in that set? It's not in that set, right? In is actually pretty cool. How in JavaScript, how could we do something like this? Like, yes, Jan? An array, right? We could check if one is in an array of these numbers. What would be the time complexity of that? If we have an array with these numbers and we're searching for one,
Is it O of n, where n is the length of the array?
Correct. It will be linear time. What other data structure could we store these numbers in to get better at on-time complexity? Maybe somebody else. This is sort of like a small analogy between SQL and JavaScript. What is the so far most, or what is one of the most efficient data structures on accessing elements? Savita? With the brackets, yeah. Somebody can help. Savita? Objects. Or hash tables, right? They are objects under the hood, they are hash tables. Right, so we could store all these numbers sort of in a hash table or in an object, and that will let us do that in constant time. I don't know how in SQL it works. I think SQL will treat that more like an array. It will check every single one. Cool. Any other keywords? Yes, Janesh? That was already given by descending. Like that. And like, what does that do? Resolve descending order, I guess. Char? The word and. A and D. What does that do? Check two things to be what? To be true. It checks. Well, we'll check. Let's say two conditions for them both to be true. Cool. With the and, we also get the or. Check two conditions for at least one of them to be true. Say that again. Check two conditions for them both to be true. Check two conditions for at least one of them to be true. Any others? Left. Oh, that one's a good one. Left. What does left do, Brianna?
You can use that to isolate characters.
Use to isolate characters. What would be the left in like JavaScript? Splice. Janesh? Array at index 0. Those are good examples. Hupo?
For the end, might it be more than just two?
You will need more ends. Yeah. So it can be more than two.
Oh, but just each end is just
For a yeah. So left used to isolate characters left, or also for or it used to isolate characters from the left, right? That's why it's called that. Yes. It could be not an exact match or analogy. It could be something like slice that allows you to cut a string. But imagine if slice could only like cut from the left to somewhere else on the right. That will be left. Yes.
Distinct.
Distinct. What does that do?
That returns only unique objects. I'm sorry.
Values, maybe?
Yeah, there we are.
So this return only unique, in parentheses distinct. Okay, so any other that we might want to include here?
Is it right? This one?
I didn't check. Let's check now.
Should be right.
Yes, there is a right. And there is also, I think, substring. Yeah, substring. We also have substring in JavaScript. So you basically with substring, I think you could just do, yeah, with substring you could do left and right. So substring will be to Giselle's question. Substring will be, well, we actually have the same one in JavaScript. You could do string.substring. Or we also have slice on string. They might, yeah. So that's if we want some of that. So there is left, there is right. Cool. Let's move on to some of these. What are some of the logical operators, counterparts from JavaScript in SQL? The and, the ampersand, ampersand. Stephanie? And, just like the word spelled out. And what would be an example of that? Who can help Stephanie with an example of the and keyword? Joanne?
Why do they have two dates? So you between certain date and then and.
Okay. So that example is a little bit long. Let's do like date between. Yeah, that's an example between, let's say, 1995 and 2000. Right? That will be an example. These and are used in the where clause. Also, these things, where you say like where, from, select, those are known as keywords or clauses. You can say the where clause is most commonly used. So the and is a logical operator mostly used for filtering in the where class, in the where clause. That's the and. This SQL keywords should be for it's a standard between to have them capitalized. It doesn't actually matter, or at least for the server that we're going to be dealing with, doesn't complain about that. Yeah, but you may want to capitalize it to make it a little bit more readable, just like the same way that we do like camel case for functions, sort of like that. The or, which is not shown correctly here, but the two pipes. I think, Adams, I think you had this one. The or. Just literally spelled out. And what would be an example of that?
Well, in the lab we were doing, I remember one of the questions was asking for like population is greater than a certain number or areas greater than a certain number.
Yeah, that's a good one. Population greater than, let's say, like 1,000, or area less than 6,000. Just as an example. So here we'll have that. Let's put that like here. Cool. So in here, this condition, it will for this logical expression to be true, only one of the sides needs to be true because that's what the or operator specifies. So if this one is true and the second one is not, that record will be returned. If this one is true and the other one is not, that record or that row will still be returned. Yes.
But unlike and, both can't be true.
Both will need to be true, and this one is actually an example with between. Another example could be like where population greater than 1,000 and area less than 6,000. Mm-hmm. What about the triple equal to in JavaScript? How do we do something? Something is equal to something else. It's equal. Ganesh. Just one equal. What's an example of this? Name is equal to Albert Einstein. I don't know if I'm spelling that correct. Cool. The not equal to. Not equal, maybe in the middle. Maybe Cameron. Not equal to.
No, I was just looking at your and algorithm, it was correct.
I think this and will work in this with the between, yeah. But most commonly we could use it on. Let's look at an example here.
Right.
By the way, this whenever you're like looking for documentation, the Postgres documentation is great. That you could go here to postgresql.org and then documentation. You search for sort of like between. Oh wait, no, that didn't work. So the Postgres documentation is good. It is a little bit technical, so you find it like hard to process. I think my second option is this PostgreSQL tutorial. They have very concise examples. Yeah. So here, for instance, this is an example, Cameron, where we're doing AND with something like value greater or equal to low and value less or equal to high. But it also works with between, something like this.
So
this will be, these two are the same queries, just written in a different way, between this and that. Yeah.
what was the other question?
Not equal to. The not equal to of JavaScript, how do we say it in SQL?
We use the greater than or less equal sign facing each other. So who cares?
Right. So this is the. I remember this with like my left hand is less or equal to, and the right hand is greater than, less than and greater than. So less than followed by a greater than. What is an example of that? Yeah. The not equal in SQL is these two symbols together, the less than followed by the greater than. So here, an example could be something, let's say we're interested in all the countries, but not in the countries of Europe. How could we say that? Hugo?
I was thinking.
Or yeah, another example is fine too.
I think one of the questions was asking if like the name and the capital were not the same or they were the same. So the name, not capital.
Yep, cool, that's a good one. Because some countries have a capital that they have the same name. Cool. Johannesburg is one, maybe? I don't remember. But anyway. Less than or greater than. Exactly the same. So age greater than 21. As an example. Less than. Actually, let's just do something like same as in JS. Cool. What about maybe there's one or two of you that would like to share about what was a challenging question? How do you gather? How do you research the pieces to solve it?
Like the GitHub
Yeah.
repositories of people solving.
There is actually a GitHub repository where people put the solutions. Okay. So that's what was the question? Okay. And I guess, yeah, there's nothing wrong like with looking at the answer, right? And just searching for the answer. But you should, when you do that, you should make sure that at least you learn something new, at least one thing new, that you just didn't copy and paste the solution.
It's the syntax.
Um,
The logic is not bad. It's the syntax.
Yes.
Yeah,
You-
the ones that actually like round like a number like
Mm.
a certain ways.
Uh-huh.
So when you use the round, it has like two parameters, one for the number and one for like how many places it rounds up to.
Uh-huh.
And this specific question is asking to round to the nearest 1,000. So you would have to put -3 to round in 3 places to the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to get around to the nearest 1,000.
So how do you find that you had to do -3? Or how do you find that?
I just looked up the documentation.
Mm-hmm. Round to the nearest 1,000. Deducts for round. Maybe one more? Joanne?
There was one, but I had to do everything in it.
Uh-huh.
Because around it, made it, put a percentage in it.
Round, concatenate, and put a percent. Oh, like, how do you put the percent?
The sign percent.
Uh-huh.
Sign.
You do just plus?
Huh?
You do like plus and then percent sign.
You can't do plus because first you have to like
Oh.
multiply by the population.
Uh-huh.
And then you also divide the population by like another select.
The inner select query, yeah. How do you manage to get that one?
Have to watch the video.
Okay. The video that was included in SQL too, or uh-huh. What did the video talk about?
So it was basically walking you through it. And
I see.
also, like, a lot of comments on how messy the whole thing was.
I see. Cool. Douglas, you have one.
I did. There was one where just from the flow from the selecting within the select
Uh-huh.
that had where it was dependent on it sorted at the it's to get it correct.
Uh-huh.
Because it auto-sorted to the continent rather than the name, and it wanted it sorted by the name.
I see.
But the site documentation didn't tell you how to sort. So it did, and it doesn't tell you until the next question block, like how to do that. And it finds like I only learned how to do that by starting to walk through SQL bowls. Which they explained order by and ascending and descending
Cool.
pretty early on, and then I was like, oh, is that the only thing that was because again I was getting the right answer, this wasn't formatted properly,
Right.
and I was frustrated by that.
Cool. Thank you. So actually that reminds me. So there's this resource. I think I'm gonna share it on the Slack. I actually found about it today. It's called SQL Bolt, and is by what I looked at and by the experience that Douglas just mentioned, it walks you through a little bit more gently than SQL do. And I'm gonna share it if you wanna, have some more practice. So for instance, this one is like the select, so it sort of introduces you to the select. and then it gives you a table here, and you can write some SQL down here. So yeah, I found out about it like today, literally. But I'm gonna share it so that you can have some more practice too. Oh yes, I did add it to the README. If you go back to, let me share it here too. Bolt SQL practice. I added it to the README that we have on Intro to Databases. No, I think it's this one. Here, if you go back to this lesson on databases, in here, you'll find it all the way at the bottom, SQL Bolt. Cool. So let's do some of the exercises. So actually, since I had solved some, I'm gonna open a new private window where we can start from scratch. So I don't think we have the budget on time to do a whole lot, but let's see some of them. Cool. Let's go with select basics. Wait, does this save all mine?
Some do have.
Okay, I guess. Oh, some select basics were really basics.
Yeah.
So they basically all of them have solutions, and you just have to change something. So let's skip this. Let's go to select name. Find the countries that end in Y. So let's do this one as an example for the like keyword. So here they have an example of the like. Also, I think to find, yeah. So they give you this example that it says you can see you can use word name like B in quotes, single quotes, %, close the quote to find the countries that start with B. And then it gives you a small description saying that the % is a wildcard, and it can match any characters, right? And then let's run this. So select name from world, where name like F, %. So this is what we were talking about earlier, where like would allow you to do sort of like partial matching. In this case, what SQL is doing sort of under the hood is like checking all the rows and comparing every single name to see where the first letter is F. And because the % stands as a wildcard for any character and any amount of character, that means that a place like France will match. What's another country that starts with F? I guess we can just see it here. Finland and Fiji. Actually, there's only 3. So sort of like this, we could think of this wildcard % as matching Fiji, matching Finland, and matching just the INLAN and RANCE. Right. So this one is, then it says find the country that starts with Y. Oh, that one is just changing this one to Y. This will match exactly that Y, and then the % any other characters. So let's do that. And there's only one, Yemen. Find the countries that end with Y. So in this case, what we want to match is not the beginning. We want to match the end, or we want to use the wildcard in the beginning and have an exact match at the end with Y. Then this will give us Turkey, Germany, Hungary, where the % is matching everything else at the beginning and the Y matching the last one. Sort of like some questions about the wildcards or like in this context. Yes?
Like is not case sensitive, but
Yeah.
equals is. I forget the other. There's an alt, and I can't remember
Uh-huh.
what it was.
So that's correct. So here, if I change like this y lowercase to y camel uppercase. Oh wait, I guess it is. Let's try this. So this is nothing, and then I change it like that ends in capital Y. It is case insensitive then. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes.
One more quick. The underscore instead of percent. Is that matching only a single word, or is that's the difference, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So let's see if we can do that one next. So this land. So this one will be something like all the ones that end in land. So we could do %. This will match a lot of stuff or anything. Let's just do land at the end. That's another thing. We can specify, more than one character that we want to match. We don't need to specify only one. That gives us all the ones that end in land. Let's look it up. Google.com maps. It is something in South Africa. Maybe it was a country at some point.
No, it is.
Officially, the kingdom. Oh yeah, I think they say in this they say that not all are actually countries. They're like also territories. Yeah. Cool. And ends with I. This is another example where we can match. Starts that with C and ends with IA. So we could do start with C and then the wildcard % to match any other amount of characters and ends with IA. And we see Cambodia, Colombia, Croatia. Oh, they misspelled it here. So here, the wildcard is matching all of this on Cambodia, is matching all of these on Colombia, and is matching all of these on Croatia. Cool. Let's see if we can find one that is a tricky one here was, let's look at this one, which was to Douglas' question. The underscore, I think somewhere it said, the underscore will match one character. So the underscore compared to so the %, any character on any amount or any number, the underscore will be any character exactly one match. So this one will let us do something like answering this question. India and Angola have an N as the second character. You could use the underscores as a single character wildcard. So here, I think even if we use, oh right, so why can't we use % here? Because it's gonna show you every country that has an N inside of the name. But we're interested only on the ones that have the N as the second character. So with the underscore, let's look at this. This is ordered by wait. This is gonna be anything that has an N. If we want to look for something like a certain position, and we want to match, we could use the underscore that will match a single character. So we're saying any character followed by an N, followed by anything else. So any character that is at the beginning, followed by an N, followed by anything else. And that was going to give us, find the countries that have T as the second character. So here, let's just change this one to T. We have Ethiopia and Italy. So that underscore is matching the E in this case, and here is matching the I. Let's see what else. Cuba and Togo. Oh, let's look at this one for looking at some of the. So there are a few ways in which we could do this. Which ones do you guys find? Actually, there's two that I'm thinking about. One is using a keyword, and the other one is not. Let's think about what we said about the underscore. What does the underscore match? Peter?
It's just like one single character, the character could be anything. It's like one single character.
Okay, so how could we use the underscore here to find all the countries that have exactly 4 characters or 4 letters?
We get rid of the percent and add like 2 underscores.
2 underscores. That gives us Cuba.
Oh, you want all 4 letters and all the letters. Sorry, all of them have 2 underscores.
So 4 underscores. And we have all of them. Because this one is matching any character followed by any character, followed by any character, followed by any character. What would be the one that uses a keyword? Brianna? Length. Where length is a sort of like a function equal 4. Let's just see that we still got the same answer or the correct answer. Yes, so we could use also length to count the number of characters. Cool. Yeah, we didn't talk about the length keyword, but you can sort of get what it does, right? Cool. Harder questions, don't get into that. Let's see, select within select. Maybe. How long do we have? Oh, we have 10 minutes. Let's try to select within select. I remember this was one of the hardest to, at least for me, to wrap around like my head. And I remember I had to think about it. I sort of have to think about this from the JavaScript perspective. Like, how would I do this in JavaScript if I had a list? So let's look at. So for instance, look at this example. So list each country name where the population is larger than that of Russia. So here, this example is select name from world where population greater than, and then another sort of a subquery or a nested query or a nested select. And then here you have to sort of stop and think about what this inner select does. What does this inner select do? Hugo. So it's just basically getting the population for Romania. And you can think of it as this thing that is in the parentheses just sort of gets replaced with the actual population of Romania. So in here we have the population of Romania, and then let's read from the outside query now. So that will read like select name from world where population is greater than the population of Romania, right? So in here, say that again? Oh, it's Russia, right. What happens if we specify all capital? It still works. I think that is something that might be independent. So we're going to be learning Postgres or PostgresQL, which is sort of, so there are a few different sort of flavors. All of them use the SQL language. So the SQL is sort of like, it's just similar to JavaScript in the sense that there is a standard body that says this is how SQL works. And if you're making a database, if you're engineering a database system, and you want to use the SQL language, you should follow these rules, right? And then sort of like, and then there are some like Postgres, MySQL, and other database systems that they extend the standard to do some other things. So there are some variations. It's sort of like trying to find. You could think of it sort of like ES5 JavaScript and ES6 JavaScript, that there are some differences. Yeah, just think about them like that. Yes, do this.
What was the reasoning for why we need to use single quote instead of double quote?
Yeah, so double quotes are used. So if I use double quotes here, what this is going to do is going to take Russia to be a column name. So it turns out that the double quotes are used for specifying column names. So for instance, I could do like this something here. So here is just like checking, it says unknown column Russia. That's because, that column doesn't really exist. Let's see here. For name Russia, yes, that works. Let's also see double. Let me see if there's any other reason that I might forget. Double quotes SQL. Stack Overflow. Stick to use single quotes. It says the general not used. Double quotes are usually used for object names, column, or like if you want to specify like a column name, a table name. Should you use double quotes for identifier? Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. So sort of when it says that double quotes are generally used only when necessary, when your identifier, maybe like a table name or a column name, doesn't fit the simple rules or the rules of simple identifiers. So it's sort of like in JavaScript that we cannot have like double quotes inside double quotes, sort of like that, in the sense that if something is using maybe a special character that is not, let's say, allowed in SQL, you will need to use this double quotes. Cool. Let's see some other here. Richer than the UK. So this one is a similar one. And this says the per capita GDP, and it gives us here what the per capita GDP is. So this one could be something like, so let's think about what do we need? We need to show the names of the countries in Europe with a per capita GDP greater than the United Kingdom. Right? So first we will need to know what is the per capita of the United Kingdom, right? And then once we have that, then we can compare every other country GDP against the GDP of the United Kingdom. So let's write. I realize that I also like to think about these nested queries as from the inside out. So I'll write like the inner query first. So here, I guess like what I will write first is let's get the per capita GDP from the United Kingdom to have it first and then compare it to everything else. So let's do select. The GDP is GDP over population, so you can just do GDP over population. Let's do this from world where. Let's just do this. So let's not specify a where. What happens when you don't specify a where clause? You get all of them. Only the first 50 rows are shown. But when the wheres the where clause is used for filtering out, right? Where X condition is true, and so on. The where is not necessary, but it's it's very helpful to get matches. So let's do where I think is name. Where name equal United Kingdom. Oh, I use double quotes where I should use single quotes. Let's see. Too few rows. So I think maybe it's country. I forgot the table. Oh, it is name. Wait, continent? United Kingdom, I have a spelling mistake. Cool, so we get here the GDP for the United Kingdom. The per capita GDP. So this is GDP over the population. And we have 38,555. So then this is like, we can do sort of capture this in these parentheses. So now we have the per capita of the United Kingdom. What we want to do is search again, comparing every single other row to the per capita GDP of the United Kingdom. So let's do that. So let's do select GDP, because I want to calculate the per capita GDP of every country. And GDP, we know the per capita GDP is GDP over population. Actually, and we want the name. So let's do name, comma, GDP from world where GDP over population is equal, no, it's greater than that. Actually, we don't need this. So let's move this a little bit nested, or just like in JavaScript, it doesn't really matter your lines and indentation, but it is good to have it, for readability. So here I'm doing, basically what this query is doing is looking at all the rows. For all of them is calculating the per capita GDP with, this simple division, and it's checking if that is greater than the GDP per capita of the United Kingdom. So let's see what we get here. We have wrong answer, too many rows. So we see that, for instance, Andorra, Australia have a greater GDP per capita than the United Kingdom. But what am I missing here? Right, I'm only interested in the ones that are, the countries that are in Europe. So where would I specify that condition? From in here? Where? Bottom here? From Europe? Let's see what this gives us. The Europe table doesn't exist. Where continent, Joanne? Where would I put that one?
We have where instead of name, we put continent.
Here?
Yeah.
Here put Europe?
And then change the name to continent.
Thumbs up if you say this is going to work. The subquery returns more than one row. This is because, why is this?
That's supposed to be getting the thing from the United States.
Right, so in here, we don't really want to change this, because if not, then if we think about only this subquery, we're over time. If we think of this subquery, this is going to get the per capita GDP of all the countries in Europe, but we're only interested in the one from the United Kingdom.
Actually, where continent equals
continent equal Europe, and GDP, and we got it. Yes.
Although I formatted mine like that, would you stick the and after the nested and it would still work?
That's correct. Yes, the order in the and doesn't really matter. So have a good one, everyone.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Of course, that would sell. It's not the answer. Yeah, like,